And welcome to a live Energy Fact Tracks from San Diego on this beautiful Wednesday morning. How's everyone out there that is tuning in? There might not be that many people out there tuning in, but that's I'm just. It's not bad. It's not a bad thing. We really didn't promote this. It's kind of a last minute idea to kind of come here and not to come here, just kind of maybe do a live show. It's kind of something that we kind of came up with last time. For those that don't know, I am repping the Fieldview Capital hat that this gentleman
at headquarters
at Fieldview headquarters right now. So we're here. We're in San Diego. We're in lovely California. Thank you for having my wife and I out here.
Absolutely.
My wife and I need to slow down because I'm excited to do this. To do a live show on Energy Fact Chats. Even though we've done this before, but never in person.
In
California, in San Diego, at the Cafe Dale. Fact Chats, yes. So if you're out there tuning in, can you hear? Oh, Cody Gotzel first in. Love it, Cody.
It's coming in hot.
That's aggressive.
Cody's
I love it.
Can
y'all can hear us, great. That's great. We have Ratish tuning in morning. Dude, we got some people tuning in.
I love it,
man.
We're on LinkedIn. You said
we're LinkedIn and Twitter
and
Twitter. So yeah, so I'm digging it. So I want to thank everyone out there tuning in. And honestly, we're gonna be going live. We'll be going live today. We're going to be going live tomorrow. And guess what? We're also going to be going live Friday. And if the gods persist, if the weather needs us, if the fans out there want more Energy Fact Chats, there may be kids running around, but it might be happening Saturday. I'm not sure yet.
Yes.
I am not sure about that. We got a full house here. We're digging it. So we have Tyler tuned in from New Orleans, I believe. He's in right now. Morning, JP and Mike.
Yes,
you're here.
And we got all the elements. If there's dogs barking, if there's gardeners, we're out. We'll hear the energy around us and incorporate it in the program.
And we're also hoping Bob does a little walk by. Yeah. Bob is one of for those that don't know, Bob's a reoccurring character that we discuss on this show, who's actually his neighbor. Who Energy Fact Chats came up in some random discussion one time
with his investor
club out of Seattle, and he's like, "Wait a minute. That's my neighbor." He's talking about Mike, and apparently, and he's like around the corner. So, Bob, we hope to see you. If not, we hope to see you one of these days that we're going live.
Absolutely.
Who else is tuning in? We got Monica Warren. Hi from Cali. Hey, Monica. Thanks for tuning in. So, she's inside, just making sure being in production. So, anyway, glad we're doing this. It's kind of it's interesting because coming out here, I think there's a lot of discussions that Mike and I we get into ourselves, and there's so much good just conversations, dialogue that we have, kind of not just the current state of energy and what's happening in California, but also what's kind of happening not just across the nation, but across the globe. Absolutely. But also the implications, the potentials of what could happen, and what that means kind of towards the nation, and just kind of where we stand as kind of pretty much the energy mix and kind of the implications of that. So that being said, I think a good place to get kicked off this morning is kind of, and obviously this is the epicenter. This is where it all kind of came out. And the reason why I'm kicking this off on the Californians for Energy and Science is because this is the origin story. This is our origin story. This is you're
going to tell the story?
No.
How we started? Oh.
No, I'm not telling the story. If they wanted to learn how we started, then kind of check out why is it not going to you? It needs to go to you a little bit.
Oh, that's okay.
If they want to hear the story in California Energy Science, how it started, they can go back. I love it. We got the elements. We have a gas-powered weed whacker over there. So if you want to hear the story, it's not about the story about energy and science. It's kind of why we're bringing it back, why this is important. And we were in a conversation last night, and I hope you can continue to stay and hear us, but it's part of doing a live show. We'll do it live. California Energy and Science, after discussions, is much more than a
the mower's going now.
Yeah, we got a mower about to get kicked on. It's more than just kind of educating people and doing environmental studies and all that stuff. There's an underlying theme that we were kind of in discussion about that last night. So for those that are out there that are thinking, this is California stuff, I don't really need to worry about it. It's not in my backyard and all that stuff. We kind of disagree because this is something that all of us, as in America, wherever you're viewing, should probably kind of take note and take kind of some sort of attention to, because it does have the potential and the implication to impact all of us out there.
And the devices we're hearing are no longer allowed to be sold in California by 2025. So gas powered lawn equipment, mowers, blowers, weed whackers, all of it is banned.
So their cost is going to go up.
They're on borrowed time.
So
absolutely,
their
costs are going to go up significantly, because now you need to have not only the fuel, which they can have a jug of diesel or gasoline for whatever they're using at their disposal, but they're going to have what, 5-10 different lithium batteries as you go from house to house if you're a landscaper. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic, just right across the street from us right now, hearing that going down. But I love it.
But it's interesting, because the conversation we were having about California energy and science, it stemmed from, I remember Mike and I first started talking, why would people care about what's happening in California? People always say, get out of California. Don't California my Colorado. Don't California my Texas. Don't California my this. Don't California my that. However, I mean, that's where it stops. The saying stops right there, because there's a reason why people are leaving this state. There's a reason why there is an exodus of a lot of people leaving this state. And it's the political realm is one thing, but it's kind of the impact on the everyday people, the consumers that live here. It's just the realities and the expectations are not meeting up, and that's the importance of California for energy and science, and that's what we all are about. So I want you to talk to me real quick about kind of real brief, 30,000 view, why y'all started, and kind of talk about the momentum that you are gathering, kind of what you're seeing with the group that you have.
Yeah, so we started, obviously a lot of energy producers. I've got my agenda from our last meeting, which we held in Taft. So we meet monthly.
Taft is the Midland of California.
Of West Kern, it's West Kern County, just like Midland is West Texas. So,
okay.
What we as energy developers and service companies, and really just concerned citizens in California, are dealing with is a political agenda that is telling the people of California, you cannot produce your energy within the state because it is harming the people of California.
Okay.
And we took an approach of looking at what is the scientific basis for these suggestions.
So my question is this: were these decisions based on? I know there's several different angles, but was it just basically like it's harming the people of California, or is it harming the environment, or is it harming the economy? What's the main source of that?
Mainly the people and the environment. And there's two ways this is approached. It's approached through policy, but how do they implement the policy? They need data or reports or scientific journals to substantiate the claim, right? Mm-hmm. So typically what happens is you'll have professors at universities. You see a lot at UC Berkeley, Stanford, University of Southern California, UCLA, UC Santa Barbara, whatever the university is. There's various reports on human health. There's reports on greenhouse gas emissions from different industries, from oil and gas specifically. And what you see in California is a targeting of the oil and gas sector. So zeroing in on oil and gas as the root cause for wildfires, for asthma in urban settings, for cancer, for
a lot,
preterm birth.
Pretty much anything negative out there is oil and gas.
And so when you're looking at these scientific studies, quote unquote, as I started reading the details of these studies, there are several flaws that jump out to me as someone that's in the industry and also as someone that is a student of environmental management.
All right. Explain it like I'm 5. What are these flaws?
So let me explain it like you're 5. So one study, for example, was published by folks at Stanford and UC Berkeley. They went out and they took a map of the EPA, the Federal Environmental Protection Agency, has a spread of receptors. They put air monitoring receptors throughout the state of California, up and down the state of California.
Okay.
And those monitor for VOCs, volatile organic compounds that can hurt your health as you breathe them, several different gases, and particulate matter. Basically, what are people breathing?
Okay.
And these monitors are set up across the state. And what this study did was it took data from those monitoring sites, which none of them, to what I could tell in the study, none of them are located in oil fields, just to set the stage. So these can be devices 10 kilometers away or 1 kilometer away from the field.
Okay.
And so they take the data being collected at these monitors, and then they take plume monitoring, and they say, well, the wind is blowing from this direction of these urban drilling sites, of these sites in California, and it's blowing into people's homes. Well, if you just look at it as, and then of course, when you read the study, this may cause.
Yeah, there's always may, could, should,
there's
might.
There's not conclusive data, but it may. And oh, by the way, if it does, it's really bad. Well, if you dig down into these studies, you see, okay, let me overlay the map of where these devices are. And how interesting is it that the interstate freeway system is basically right through the middle of that corridor? So right through the heart of the Central Valley, right through downtown Los Angeles, right through these urban areas, you have major interstates, which is a big problem when you're trying to tie an adverse health impact to one particular industry, and you tie it to things like particulate matter. Well, particulate matter does not exist unless you combust something, unless you burn it in a device, an engine, or unless you're driving in a lease situation on an upstream oil field production pad, unless you're driving on dirt roads, unless you're drilling and kicking up dust. That is PM10. It's the size of the micron. The PM10, PM2.5, there's different sizes. So all that to say, these studies take air monitoring through this corridor that is overlaid with the interstate, which has all the internal combustion engines.
So it's a perfect spot if I want to skew a study.
If I want to skew a
study to benefit kind of my alignment, my party, my political beliefs, or my agenda. That's a great place to put it.
It's a perfect place to put it if you want to ban internal combustion engines. And really that should be the focus, because transportation and heavy industry account for like over 50% of the emissions and particulate that we're breathing, along with the Port of LA, which that blows into these air monitoring devices. That all of this data is manipulated to show that somehow producing oil and gas in California is harming.
Is going to end everyone.
When you look at the California Air Resources Board, who reports a scoping plan every 5 years and talks about the inventory of greenhouse gases in the state, we see that greenhouse gas emissions from upstream oil and gas is less than 2.5% of the pie.
Can you say that again?
Less than 2.5% of the greenhouse gas emissions in California are coming from the oil and gas industry producing the product. Less than 2.5%.
So that's a huge reaction for such a small percentage.
It's a massive overcorrection for a certain industry.
Right. Okay.
But it's a political agenda that is being tied to that industry that is somehow hurting us. Now, I'm not talking about refining. I'm not talking about downstream emissions.
We're talking about production.
We're talking about the right to drill and produce in the state.
And for those that are out there that may not be in the energy space, whether it's renewables or hydrocarbons and all that stuff, what does that mean with production? Like
great question.
You know what? That's what we do in Energy Fact Chats and Energy Crew, my other podcasts. You can find that on any platform that you want to listen to stuff. But anyway, we ask great questions.
Yes.
You like that plug?
So, and this ties into the study. So the study took data from drilling sites. They took drilling site pre-drilling preparation, and they said, hey, there's a lot of dust that happens when you're clearing drilling pads. So we're going to look at how many drilling pads and where those are located, where are they being built, and then we're going to look at production volume. So they took volume of oil being produced over the year, and they tied the drilling locations and production volume to the study, and they conducted it from like 2010 to 2019. Let me tell you what's interesting about this and why this ties it into Californians for Energy and Science. This year in 2023, there have only been 7 drilling permits permitted in the state of California. 7.
Okay.
There's normally 1,400.
Can you repeat that a little bit slower? So normally there's 1,400
drilling sites.
Normally there's 1,400 drilling sites. This year was 7.
Yes.
7
so far in California.
Okay.
And by the way, look, the gardening finished. They're quick.
They're coming over to listen to this.
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. And now they're like,
this is affecting
they won't
me.
be doing that yard tomorrow, so we're good for tomorrow.
You know what?
So not only that, but production volume is down over 70 million barrels a year since 2019.
Okay.
Because new administration, no permits, production volumes are going down, drilling goes down. So now my question is, are they going to redo the study? Are they going to revamp the study?
Or are they going to hold on to that data?
Or are they going to, because in theory, based on what the original study told us, now that there's effectively no drilling sites and production volumes are down, I would expect the air quality to have improved significantly across the state of California.
Well, because you're not using what you're not producing, right?
Yeah,
right?
And now the industry shut down. So this is what I've been telling our group is going to set up for a very interesting conversation where we say, is the air quality any different in California? No, the answer is going to be no.
Well, then we need to phase out more.
Oh, yeah, we can't.
We
can't phase out anymore. We've already phased out all we can.
We can't pull over anymore. We're already pulled over.
Exactly. So it's creating this interesting dynamic where the truth is going to reveal itself. But we at Californians for Energy and Science are revealing that truth by putting these air monitoring devices that are monitoring for the same gases, the same volatile compounds, but we are putting these devices in the field. We're not relying on receptor sites next to highway infrastructure or next to heavy industry in the LA basin. We're putting them in the fields, and our first 30 days of continuous monitoring have shown 0 emissions, 0 coming out of these sites. We're creating a virtual fence line between the site and the community, and we've had 0 hits on the devices over 30 days on a field that is next to 9,000 active oil and gas wells and across the street from homes.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, that's
our first site. First off, that's preliminary data.
But let me kind of bring this back and kind of also reframe this as well. Let's look at California as a human body. Okay, let's say it needs 2,000 calories a day to survive. Okay, that's the amount of energy it consumes. It's the amount of oil it consumes. It's the amount of this just to keep the body moving, just to keep it functioning, just to keep the blood moving around, the digestive tract moving around, having energy to move. Right. Just because I decide, well, I'm going to cut out whatever carbs, cake, whatever, all that stuff. It doesn't change that my body still needs 2,000 calories to survive. It doesn't change the fact that California's body needs 60. I know it's a 600 million barrels a year. It doesn't change the fact that California's body needs 600 million barrels of calories a year to survive. No, all you're doing, you're just making you Californians go elsewhere for your calories versus go in your backyard and kind of what you're growing, what you're consuming, what's in the ingredients, what's in your cake. Rather than that, you're going to these wherever, these foreign countries, foreign chefs, and kind of getting what their standards are. They don't care like how they produce this or produce that. There's not the same regulations, so
they're going to put MSG instead of salt.
That's it. So that I just kind of want to rephrase that just because I'm thinking like, if I'm like, if I'm not knowledgeable when it comes to energy, and honestly, the more people I talk to that are in the energy space, whether it's renewables, whether it's hydrocarbon, whatever space you're in, there's an understanding of energy. However, the decisions and the discussions around energy are not being made by the people in energy. It's being people, but that don't understand energy. So it doesn't matter. The body of California needs a certain amount of calories, and just because you're not getting it from this source doesn't mean you're not going to get it anymore. So as a staunch advocate against hydrocarbons, I would say that's great.
Right.
Oh my God, we phased out all this production. That's great. It doesn't change the fact that reality is the energy realities.
Right.
Is we need it.
Right. Right. And just as we had a little blowing going on, the blowing is brief, but the landscapers are going to go to Arizona to buy the blowers they need and the mowers they need. It's going to export their purchases are going to be from states that don't ban these products. They're not going to convert.
But why come back? Why come back?
Electric device that they have
to
charge. No, well, they come here for the jobs. But then secondarily, as you mentioned, what we need as a state in terms of barrels every year. Yeah, that product, that demand is not going anywhere.
Right.
People are still going to trim and mow and blow their lawns, just as people are still going to cook their food. They're still going to drive their car. We're still going to fly planes.
And I think that's where the disconnect is. Just because you quote phase out producing oil, doesn't change the fact that you still need it to survive.
Yeah, you still need it to run this economy.
Yes,
you still need it. There's reports, in the past 4 or 5 days from the Wall Street Journal talking about electrifying the trucking fleet in California. What does that do when 40% of the nation's imports come through California? 30% of our exports leave through California. It makes everything more expensive, not just for me living here,
Texans,
for you in Texas, for people in Colorado, Montana, anywhere they live.
We actually did an episode on, I think you can find it. It's electrifying, the ports or something. I think that's actually the title of the episode. Check it out. We kind of dove into what that means to kind of everyday consumer, not just in the state of California, but also across the nation. And the reason also I want to pull back a little bit, the reason that we're kind of talking about California for energy and science, because this is kind of the epicenter, where these policies kind of take place and kind of spread. For example,
absolutely,
the ban on ICE internal combustion engines, 2035. Oh, great, that's California. Keep California politics and all that stuff. New Jersey is copying that. Other states are following in line with this stuff. You also see the federal government kind of working with or kind of hand in hand with the policies in California. So when people are saying, oh, don't California this, don't California that, it's bigger than that because policy spreads. Spreads.
Look at kitchen appliances.
Kitchen
everybody
appliances
across the country
too.
is talking about my stove, my going gas to electric stove,
my mini spatula, my mini tongs,
everything that is being discussed at the federal level has already been discussed here.
Yes,
and it absolutely ties
so it spreads. So it's not one of those things that we can run from realities or escape from realities, because you look around. Look, from my perception here, we got here yesterday. Okay, first off, it's my wife's father just bought a place in LA. It's an affluent state. There's a lot. There's a lot of hybrids. There are a lot of EV vehicles out there. There's a lot of stuff out there. Yes. However, we're sitting here. It's cloudy in San Diego, and before we actually record this, I'm looking at this electricity maps, and I'm seeing currently right now the natural gas is supplying. You read this. You're good at reading these kilowatt. You read it.
We got 10 gigawatts of natural gas.
And how much is wind, solar, and all that? And again, this is
we're overwhelmingly gas. This is California. Wow. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
And so that's the thing. It's not a question of, hey, look, we want to, we're against, renewable. This is just a conversation on the realities of energy consumption, of energy production. And it's not a question of being for or against. We're pro energy, pro realities, realities. That's what this is for.
Well, and as you just to close the discussion on the electricity generation, roughly 45 to 50% of California's grid is natural gas fired. So how do you you can decarbonize the day in California because you have a lot of sun. So you have flat panel photovoltaic coming online, and that leaves the nighttime, right? It's like, okay, now how do you get off the natural gas at night? Or like you say, it's cloudy. This morning we've got 10 gigawatts of natural gas. Cloudy yesterday, cloudy the month of December. The days get shorter in the wintertime because you've got sunset at 5 p.m. instead of 8 p.m. And you have less daylight to generate that.
And unfortunately, the mindset and what you see is like, oh, we just got lucky because the weather wasn't as cold or the weather wasn't as warm. It's a lot of hope when it comes to kind of like the policy decisions. Like, oh, we kind of eked by this time because it was a little bit cooler, a little bit warmer than we expected.
And the result is high prices for your electricity bills. We have some of the highest in the nation.
Yep.
San Diego, I think, is the highest now. I think it overtook Hawaii. But you've got Hawaii and California as the two highest electricity.
But I was in Oklahoma at a Crew Club event, the #1 premier operator producer networking group out there, and we're in Oklahoma. And some guy at the table was, I kind of overheard the other side of the table was like, "Hey, is anyone else's electricity bill like through the roof?"
Yeah.
And I kind of peeled my head back. Everyone's kind of agreeing. Me living in Texas, ours is too tremendously high.
Right.
So
you saw a lot in the heat wave you guys were experiencing. That prices were high, outages were possible.
And this, I want to kind of put a pin in this. I kind of want to continue talking about California energy science, but there's an underlying kind of reason that this is such a passion project for Mike and so many other people that are involved. I want to get in this tomorrow. How about that?
Yeah.
It's not just a question of energy and energy independence and security or anything like that. It kind of comes to a question of personal property rights.
Yes.
And this is something, and real quick, this is kind of the teaser that we're going to kind of get into tomorrow. We're not done by today by any means. I'm enjoying this conversation. But I want to talk, because I feel like what we can talk, this could be like a 30-minute thing. So I was talking to Mike last night and just kind of rephrase what we're talking about. And he just kind of starts talking. It's like, look, like this is, my family's been here for generations and all that stuff. And we kind of start about property and all that stuff. And he goes, well, that's why I'm so passionate about California for Energy and Science, because it's the same thing. It's property rights. It's individual property rights versus the government can't come in and say, hey, this is mine. Cherry pick kind of what they want, what they don't want. So if you don't mind getting into that tomorrow, I'd love to discuss that because I think that's a bigger issue.
I think it's a huge issue. And I think it's also why we're, as an organization, so focused on high school students and college students, because that's not typically something you think about in your youth. Like, oh, my property. It's like, well, Mom, can I have some money to go to the movies or whatever,
the arcade,
or help me pay my tuition or help me pay my dorm rent. You're not thinking long-term about what is my future in this state. Once I go from a university or high school to a trade, how do I preserve the value of my dollar? That's my property. If I'm earning $1 and now my cost to power my home or my apartment is going through the roof, or I can't afford these vehicles, now all of a sudden I can't afford to even have property. And now you're seeing that, right? Everybody talks about the homelessness in California and the issues. People can't afford this. And so we need to have energy that is sustainable. We need to have energy that is affordable, and we need to have it so people can understand that there's an ability to live here and thrive here, not just this, well, I'm forced to react, I'm forced to change my lifestyle, I'm forced to change my budget so that we can have a perceived benefit. And I think that's what it all goes back to is, are the net benefits of these policies truly there? Are for the environment and for the people?
For the people.
So if we talk about our energy as calories, if we're not reducing our demand for oil and gas and we're simply exporting the environmental stewardship to Saudi Arabia, Iraq, to Ecuador, with no decrease in demand, what are we doing? We're just sending the production facilities to places that have no rules, and we're letting them pollute at will, and then we're paying higher prices here at home. And the same goes for electricity generation. California only produces 30% of the feedstock for its grid that it consumes. So we're importing a massive amount of our electricity into the state through natural gas feedstock, through coal feedstock, through renewable projects that are then transmitted into the state from Nevada, from Wyoming. We're buying other people's electrons effectively.
Yeah.
And that is very expensive to transport. And by the way, the people in those states are going to rise up and say, well, I don't want a big, ugly wind farm in the middle of Wyoming, and then I don't get the benefit of that.
Yeah.
I'm sending those to the people of California who procured those clean electrons.
Who made the decision to build
And all these things are going to start unraveling, because when things get overwhelmingly expensive, or when you have supply shortages, that's when people really start asking questions. And I feel like until recently, people have just said, oh, yes, it's for the environment, I'm on board.
Yeah.
Until you can't afford it.
Until your
electricity goes up. And then you're asking
up.
why. And then it starts being communicated. What is the net impact of all of
it? I mean, that's exactly right. It's one of those, oh, it was a tough year. Yeah, things a little bit up, but those years kind of go into 2 years, 3 years. For next thing you know, I mean, look, whether you can afford taking your family out to an annual holiday trip or something like that, that disposable income that you're going working 9 to 5 for kind of gets whittled down. It gets whittled down. And cost of living whittled down. And next thing you know, you're not. It's whether it's trips or the normalcy, what you're used to living, it kind of gets squeezed a little bit.
Right. And the next thing you know, they are putting a set monthly fee on your utility bill based on your income, which is proposed in so the next thing you know, if you are having success in your career, if you are having success saving money, that's going to get penalized, because the government or the Public Utility Commission is going to say, well, you make enough money to pay
more about your neighbors
for your electricity and for everybody's electricity. So you're going to have this monthly fee. And if you make under this line, you're not going to.
Don't worry about it. Rely on your neighbor.
You're going to free ride, or we're going to carry you into this energy transition. And it has nothing to do with your usage, with your efficiency, with, none of those metrics are considered, just income, which is ridiculous. It should be based on how, am I turning off my lights? Am I using less energy? Am I conserving? That should be rewarded. It shouldn't be penalized based on your income level. That's communism.
You think about, again, you throw that word out, that's a hot word and all that stuff, but I mean, is there a difference? I mean, I'm looking at this. Let's pretend that neighbor right there, very successful, has his own company and all that stuff, and crushing all that stuff. All these people make under all that stuff. Is that person going to be sitting around here for years and years to come if they know that they're going to be like, why am I working so hard to pay for these? Their lights are on, they're having this party, their pool's running, also, So you're right. It does kind of. That sounds great on paper in theory, but what's the realities? I mean, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to move. I'm out of here.
Yeah. Or let's say you've put solar panels on your roof, like my next door neighbor, and then they say, well, you're making this much, so we're going to put this fee on your utility bill, and you're like, wait a minute, I just put the panels up. I thought I was going to be paying no utility bill or much less, because I'm taking it. So at the end of the day, the mandates are happening, and then the plan is being made, and that's the wrong way to do it.
And it's all getting passed. It's all getting passed down to the consumer. It's like, hey, look, we're going to make this decision when it comes to energy policy or anything like that, but we're going to pass the cost on to you.
Deal with it.
You deal with it. It's our decision. You deal with it.
You deal with it.
Yeah.
And that's what we're about at our group is, okay, what is the science behind this? If we're not harming the environment, now what are the economic benefits of producing that in state? What are the job opportunities for young people? And how can we develop energy systems that are sustainable, that are focused on conservation, that are focused on the net benefits to the environment and the people? That's what this needs to be about. This cannot be California is going to put on this ESG cape for the universe, and we're going to solve climate change with our 350 million metric tons of
exporting it
to Saudi Arabia, and it's just going to all go away. It's not. And so let's focus on the science, and let's focus on the truth behind the science.
Well, my question is this: so you're doing such a good job. You've had many meetings. You're getting organized. You're getting the board and all this stuff. You're getting all these studies that very interesting stuff that's coming out of the studies. What's the progression of this? Where do you see this going in the short term? And not only that, if I'm out there listening in Wyoming, because we have a couple people tuning in from Wyoming.
Nice.
We got Lord tuning in from Wyoming. We got Stetson tuning in. Great names too. We got Stetson and Lord tuning in. Great name. Great Wyoming names from Midland too. Is there a way for people to kind of dive into? And Cody has a question here too at the end. We can ask at the end. Is there a way for people to kind of emulate, to kind of take a look at this, take a look at kind of what you're doing out here when it comes to kind of providing this real world information, this timely information that might go against on what people, like should cause this, should do this? Is there a way to kind of or potentially copy not copy, but kind of copy the playbook.
Yeah.
About kind of how you're organizing.
Right. Yeah. Well, if people can sign up at energyandscience.com.
I'm signed up, and I don't even live out here.
And I don't ping a bunch of emails, but I'm just about today I'll send out our agenda that we talked about last week so people can see, okay, what are they talking about? How are they going through the scientific studies?
It's going to be on a lot of people's plates out there.
Right. And then we're an open playbook. So if people like what they see, go do it in your state. Go do it in your community. Go look into, you have electricity maps, start looking into the hot topics, and researching for yourself. Where do we get the energy? How much does it cost? How does it get here? What is the environmental impact? Those are the main themes we're hitting on. But we are a grassroots organization. We started as a little infant of an idea, a little embryo in November
at some place in Bakersfield.
We've just been born. I mean, we're a baby. We're an infant. So, we're going to take our monthly meetings. We're going to be in Santa Barbara this month, September 28th, 29th. So if anybody is in the Santa Barbara area, we move our meetings around the state of California to include concerned people. So that's how we found an effective way to now generate, we've got over 350 people signed up.
And it's not just oil and gas.
It's not just oil and gas.
You have students, you have people in the communities, you have restaurants, people.
We have people in the restaurant industry. We've got truckers coming in. We've got agriculture. We've got aerospace people. We're open to anybody.
That's awesome.
That's the thing. We want anybody to get involved that wants to be involved.
I love that.
And there's no... I think one of the biggest challenges, just to put that out for people starting something like this, is a lot of the work falls on a few people that care about this. But that's my job as the founder and someone with a board to split that up and delegate that. So I think if people want to replicate this in their own region, just know that it's a long-term deal.
Well, honestly, speaking of that, I mean, just kind of loop that up, going back to kind of the policy spreading and all that stuff. I mean, that would be such a proactive tool, such a proactive thing to maybe people look into, at least sign up, at least learn. And look, we're not pushing anything. You're not getting like emails that promote X, Y, and Z. I believe, I mean, I live in Texas and all that. I believe that this is important for people to view, because this is, whether you're in California or not, this should be on people's horizon.
Sure.
Because after California, it's going to start moving coast on in.
Right.
So I think it's very important for people to do. And y'all's momentum. Let's go to momentum real quick. Tell me about the momentum.
So momentum is growing. So we're, I'll be speaking October 4th at the Martinez Refinery in Northern California, a talk about gasoline prices. I'll be speaking at UC Berkeley. Joseph Sylvie, our newest board member, environmental engineering student at UC Berkeley, has me that afternoon at his Biofuels Technology Club, speaking there. November 9th, I'll be guest lecturing at the Haas School of Business at UC Berkeley, Energy and Civilization. So I'm putting a talk, and I'll publish that. And if they let me put the video out there and record it, I'll put that out there. So we just met at the West Kern Oil Museum in Taft, California last week, where we had 30 high school students from the Taft Oil Tech Academy join us, and they're talking about, hey, we see these agendas being pushed on TikTok and social media. We want to get engaged with your group so that we have information, so that we know how to react to that in the social media world, because that social media content
drives the conversation
for the youth. So, and then our studies that I mentioned, we're in month 2 of our formal air monitoring studies, studying emissions from oil fields, 24/7 continuous monitoring. We just moved to a coastal lease in Southern California. We're moving to six or seven different leases across the state over 6 or 7 months, and then compiling that data and writing a peer-reviewed study. What did we find? So that's where we're at. We're communicating with students at the high school and college level. We're speaking at their schools, in their classrooms, in their lecture halls, in a very unbiased way, in a very non-confrontational way. This is the data.
Yes.
What do you think? That's it. There's no agenda. We're not even saying
energy realities
permits. We're not out there saying we need permits. We're saying, okay, now that there's no permits, is your air quality better?
It's kind of walking in. Yeah, it's kind of walking in and say, all right, I'm not here for oil and gas. I'm not here for rules. I'm just saying, hey, look, let's call a spade a spade.
What's your caloric intake?
Yes.
We are here to be your energy nutritionist.
Yes.
What does this look like for
you?
I
love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
What's Cody's question?
Cody's
he
question.
Logs off. He might already peace
all right,
out.
Where are the battery-powered big machinery like dozers to clean up the mess from the hurricane? Well, actually, Cody, so we're actually what's funny about that, I mean, you come here and you see all this blah, 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 like, oh, anti-this, electrification this, and you kind of look down, you look at all these huge projects that are being, earth being moved, this being that, and it's all diesel equipment, Right. So, yeah, exactly. Where is it? It's not here. It's not here. It sounds great, pie in the sky, but it's not here.
And I think it brings up a great point, because even if you convert all the vehicles to battery vehicles, you still have heavy equipment that needs to be run. You still have airplanes that need to fly. You still have ships that need to go from here to China and back countless times.
Yeah.
You still have heavy industry that needs to prepare all these infrastructure projects. You still have cement manufacturing. You still have
the world
huge needs in what is the fourth largest economy in the world, in California. And so I think, to Cody's point, and that's something that we try to break down in terms of, barrels per year demanded. You've got over 600 million barrels a year being consumed in this state. That goes to heavy machines. That goes to diesel-fired trucks moving your products in and out of the port.
Your avocados.
And what is it going to do if we electrify everything? Where do those electrons come? It keeps there's so many questions that you can go down the supply chain, like Cody's question, that need to be not only asked but then documented. If not this, then what?
Well, it's not. It's a question being asked, documented, but it's also a question of what does this really impact? Let's not think about the 30,000 foot view. Let's think about the families that are out there that are really with two jobs, struggling and all that stuff. I don't think they can go out and afford $60,000 today, because in a couple of years it's gonna be $80,000.
Right.
I mean, it's just I'm not against them. I think they're great. I love it, but at the same time, the realities is not a lot of families can afford it.
No, or if you're an independent trucker, how do I now afford a $500,000 or $600,000?
You don't. You just have
to. And I have nowhere to charge it.
You have to join the big boys.
You got to join the big boys.
You got to join the big boys. So it kind of crushes the entrepreneurial spirit. So, man, I appreciate. Do you have anything else to kind of?
We blew through this one. This was literally with the blowers going. It was a good conversation. I hope it wasn't too noisy for folks.
But no, I don't think it was. It needs to get noisy. It needs to get noisy. Yeah. So I want to thank everyone out there for tuning into Energy Facts Chats. And obviously, Mike, I just love how I love your passion towards this subject. I kind of like seeing your momentum as well too. I mean, you're getting in front of the Inside California Dish, and you're talking to schools. You're being asked to speak as well. And I just think the way you communicate, it's very it's such a holistic view, and how you approach it, man. I just broing out. I love what you're doing, so keep it up.
Likewise, we got to do a kids crew and a crew and an energy crew.
We'll do all the crews. We'll do the U crew. We'll do the Cali crew. We'll do the Cali crew. But I want to thank everyone out there for tuning in Energy Facts Chats. If you enjoyed this, check out our other previous episodes, where honestly they're all topical, all factual, and honestly, just because we talked about it 2 months ago, it's still happening right now. So be sure to check those out, and tune in tomorrow morning and the morning after that, because we're coming to you live. If you have anything that you kind of want to talk about or add in, just drop it in the comments, shoot us a note, shoot me an email or something like that. Sign up for Californians for Energy and Science what's the website?
Very simple.
What is it?
EnergyandScience.com.
I can't do that. EnergyandScience.com. Sign up for that. Leave a question. We appreciate that. And I guess I wish I knew that San Diego Anchorman line by heart, but I'm screwed up.
Stay classy, San Diego.
Stay classy, San
See you in the EFC Bistro tomorrow.
Yes, see you at the Bistro tomorrow. Stay classy, San Diego. And thanks for tuning in. And I'm going to keep talking to Phil the thing before I...
going right now?
It's still live. Yes, it is. Well, thank you. We are getting compliments and
The
accolades
wives
from
are
our
out,
better
the babies are out.
from our better halves. The babies are out. Sun's out. Buns out. All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see y'all tomorrow. I love it.
That's right.
Cool. Wait, so